Hi everyone, welcome to Impact Academy. I'm Yashasvi Chintada. So today let us continue with the important one-liners of Indian polity. So let's start with the 21st question. Which act made the beginning of a parliamentary system in India? Okay. So Charter Act of 1853. So look at the Charter Act of 1853. Okay, we've already seen regulating acts and um, we've seen regulating act which has a provision for Supreme Court. Okay, and we've seen Charter Act of 1833. Okay, the Governor General of Bengal has become the Governor General of India, and Lord William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. So, Charter Act of 1853. So, separated the legislative and executive functions of the Governor General's Council. So, there is separation of powers. Provided for addition of six new members, called the legislative councils to the council known as the Indian Legislative Council. And also it introduced for the first time local representation in the Indian Central Legislative Council. So all these are important, and it introduced an open competition for civil services. See, here in Charter Act 1833, the provision for open competition was negative, so it was not there. So this can be important question. Okay, which Charter Act introduced open competition for civil services? That means even Indians can apply. That is Charter Act of 1853. Okay, so what is the question? Which act made the beginning of a parliamentary system in India? Charter Act of 1853. Okay, beginning of a parliamentary system because you have seen councils. Okay, all those things. Under which of the following act the Crown of England took the affairs of the government of India into its own hands? See, in 1857, the revolt has happened, right? The revolt of 1857. So after the revolt, the British Crown has taken over. Okay, and important thing is Lord Canning. See, observe this. Warren Hastings. Okay, Warren Hastings is the first Governor General of Bengal, right? I mean, first Governor General of India. Sorry, not Bengal. No. Just a minute. Okay, so yeah, first Governor General of Bengal is Warren Hastings. Okay, and first Governor General of India is Sir William Bentinck. That is very important. But first Governor General of Bengal is Warren Hastings. Okay, the Governor of Bengal who introduced dual government, that is Robert Clive. Okay, don't get confused. Anyway, so Warren Hastings is the first Governor General of Bengal. And then Cornwallis is very important for uh, introduction of what is civil services. Okay, also the creation of DSP. Okay, the position of DSP, and he's also called as the father of the Indian civil service. Okay, all those are very important. And the civil service was considered as the steel frame of the administration of the East Indian Company. Then we are looking at Lord William Bentinck. Okay, he's famous for abolition of sati 1829. Very important. So when was sati system abolished in India? In 1829 by Lord William Bentinck with the help of Raja Rammohn Rai. Okay, and Charter Act of 1833. Very important. Charter Act of 1833. He became the Governor General of India. Then in 1857, okay, when the war has happened, see Lord Canning was there. So Lord Canning was the viceroy. The revolt of 1857 happened, and after the revolt, the East India Company was dissolved, and the British Crown took over the administration. It introduced viceroy and secretary of state. Okay, the first viceroy is Lord Canning, very important, and it happened after 1857. So it is 1858. Through the Government of India Act 1858, the Crown of England took the affairs of the Government of India into its own hands from the East India Company. The Governor General of India was also the representative of the British Crown to the princely states, and hence was known as the Viceroy of India. This is when after 1858, through the Government Act of 1858, the Governor General now became Viceroy, and a direct representative of the British Parliament was the Secretary of the State. So, which act for the first time gave an opportunity for Indians to enter into the sphere of legislation? So, Indian Councils Act of 1861. So, let us look at the Councils Act of 1861. So, look at this. Indian Councils Act of 1861 initiated the process of decentralization by restoring legislative powers to Bombay and Madras. So these powers were taken away through the Charter Act of 1833. See, remember Charter Act of 1833? The Governor General of Bengal has been made Governor General of India, and the Bengal and Madras provinces have been made subordinate to the Governor General of India. So in Indian Councils Act 1861, okay, whatever happened in 1833 was partially reversed. Some legislative powers were restored to Bombay and Madras. So process of decentralization has happened, and it introduced representative institutions in India and associating Indians. Fine. Viceroy nominated some Indians as non-official members of his council. And who are the three Indians? The Raja of Benares, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. Very important. Frequently asked. Okay. So this we are talking about Councils Act 1861. Try to remember. It empowered the Viceroy to issue ordinances during emergency. So when you see Viceroy, it will obviously be something after 1858. So 1861 is the nearest one. So try to remember like that. So fine. So which act for the first time gave an opportunity for Indians to enter into the sphere of legislature? Indian Councils Act 1861, the Raja of Benares, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. 1861. First time the Viceroy gave these powers. So try to remember in a timeline with the base of a timeline. You will be able to understand better. So which act made the beginning of electoral system in India? The GOI Act of 1858. Okay. So the Government of India Act of 1858, also known as the Act for Good Government, because just now the revolt has happened and the British crown has taken over. The rule of company was replaced by rule of crown. Changed the designation of Governor General to that of Viceroy. First Viceroy is Lord Canning. It abolished the dual government. It ended the doctrine of lapse. Okay, doctrine of lapse also Lord Dalhousie. Very important, right? Just let us look at it. It is one of the main reasons for the revolt. Lord Dalhousie, see, just before the revolt, he was there and he brought the doctrine of lapse. And he also did all these things. Wood's dispatch regarding education, 1854, introduction of the doctrine of lapse, annexation of Burma, Anglo-Sikh War, Second Anglo-Sikh War, establishment of a public works department, laying down first railway line connecting Bombay and Thane, 1853. This is also frequently asked. Okay, laying down first railway line in India. Okay, Bombay and Thane in 1853. In 1863, I think it is in Andhra Pradesh, Chittoor and Renigunta. Try to remember that also. Okay, fine. So, which act made the beginning of electoral system is 1858. So all these things, 1858, doctrine of lapse ended because it caused the revolt. Okay, Viceroy and company when company was closed and the rule of crown. They established a 15-member Council of India to assist the Secretary of State of India. So Secretary of State is also newly created. Okay, and it established a 15-member council. But first time when Indians were involved, it is 1861 Councils Act of 1861, right? Councils of 1861. Three people were involved: Raja of Benares, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. Which of the following act made the Indian legislature bicameral for the first time? So, Government of India Act 1919. That is nothing but Montague Chelmsford reforms. Okay. See, these two are very important. Indian Councils Act of 1909 is Morley Minto reforms. Very, very, very important. Okay, Morley is the Secretary of State and Minto is the Viceroy. Okay, here also first person is Secretary of State, second person is Viceroy. Okay, these two are very landmark, what you say, acts and frequently asked. 1909, Morley Minto reforms. 1919, Montagu Chelmsford reforms. And here, introduction of separate electorates for Muslims. This has been recently asked in Group 2 prelims. Very important. 1909, Morley Minto reforms. Introduction of separate electorates for Muslims and introduced for the first time element of elections to the legislative councils. Okay. And provided for the first time association of Indians with the Executive Council. There it was the Legislative Council, 1861 Councils Act. But here 1909, first time the Indians were associated with the Executive Council of the Viceroy. That means more prominent. Executive Council will take major decisions, right? First person is Satyendra Prasad Sinha. He was appointed as a law member. Who is the first person to have joined the Viceroy's Executive Council? Satyendra Prasad Sinha through Indian Councils Act of 1909 called as Morley Minto reforms. And after that, after 10 years, 1919 Montego Chelmsford reforms, responsible government. Okay, and Indian legislature became bicameral for the first time. Very, very, very important. Okay, it became bicameral. That means both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, right? So it's a council and also assembly. That is bicameralism. So Indian legislature became bicameral for the first time in Government of India Act 1919. It can be asked. Very important. So for the first time, separate electorate was given in 1909, but communal representation extended to 6 Christian, Anglo-Indian, Muslims, etc. in 1919. Devolution of legislative authority by center to provinces, separating central and provincial subjects. And one more important thing is diarchy has been introduced in provinces. Okay. Next, in Government of India Act 1935, diarchy is abolished in the provinces and introduced in the center. Okay. See, observe very carefully. 1919, diarchy was introduced in provinces, so more like states. Okay. In 35, diarchy was abolished in states, I mean in provinces, and introduced in center. So this question is also frequently asked, very important. Okay, 1935, see, extended the principle of communal representation, providing separate electorates for depressed classes, etc., etc. So this is also very important. Important. All these are very important. Established the Reserve Bank of India, established the Federal Public Service Commission. All these things, Federal Court in 1937, Supreme Court in 1774. That is through the Regulating Act of 1773. The Federal Court in 1937 through obviously GOI 1935. Okay, 35, 2 years after Federal Court has been established. Okay, introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. That's also important. And we have already seen the Indian legislature became bicameral for the first time. So for the first time when bicameralism was introduced, 1919. Okay, 1935 it was extended to 6 out of 11 constituencies. So all these are very, very important points. Please note down and remember. So which of the following act made the Indian legislature bicameral for the first time? Government of India Act 1919. So it made it bicameral for the first time. Okay. The famous Dandi March led by Gandhiji was against salt. Okay. Dandi March 1930. Okay. Gandhiji's, all these are very important. This is Polity. Just a minute. Let us. Fine. So, famous Dandi March 1930 was led by Gandhiji from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi in Gujarat, and it was regarding salt tax. Which proposal was referred as the post-dated check, the Cripps proposal. See what happened in the Cripps proposal. At that time, World War II was going on, and Britain wanted India to participate, but because we were asking for independence, we tried not to participate. Okay, then they tried to give so many concessions. All the, and I mean, so then came this August of 1940. Okay, and the Cripps Mission 1942. So basically, they were saying if you help us fight the World War, okay, then we will look into it. We'll give you the separate electorate or separate what do you say. We'll give you more powers. We'll give you independence and all those things. So there comes Cripps Mission 1942 and Wavell's Plan and Shimla Conference 1942, and later in 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan. Okay, so Cabinet Mission Plan 1946 was the first time discussed about the Constituent Assembly. We've seen already, right? Some time back. So the Indian legislators and leaders, they mentioned the proposal as a post-dated check because they are saying if you help us in the war, then we will help you. So that is in the future. So they called it as a post-dated check. They wanted more powers in the present. Okay. The Indian National Congress started Quit India movement after the failure of Cripps Mission. See, Cripps Mission we have just seen. Okay, Cripps Mission is in 1942. After its failure, Quit India movement has happened. And who was the Viceroy? Lord Linlithgow. All these are very, very important. Try to remember the Viceroy also. Under Lord Linlithgow, Cripps Mission, Quit India movement, all these things have happened. Okay, Gandhiji gave a call to all Indians, do or die, which is popularly known as Quit India movement. As I said, in the non-cooperation movement 1920, Dandi March 1930, okay, and previous Champaran Satyagraha 1917 and Kedar Satyagraha 1918, Ahmedabad Satyagraha 1918. These are all most important, what you say, movements by Gandhiji. In all these movements, there was no violence. But in 1942, when the Quit India movement has started, Gandhiji gave a call for Indians to do or die, and there was lot of violence. There was lot of parallel governments, Usha Mehta. Okay, many women revolutionaries also have taken part in the movement, and Jatiya Sarkar, and all these are parallel governments. So they are all very important. So anyway, Quit India movement 1942 is do or die, and it started after the failure of the Cripps mission. So which plan rejected the demand for the independent Pakistan? Cabinet mission plan, which came later on. Okay, in 1946, cabinet mission plan, cabinet mission plan, cabinet mission came in 1946. Okay, and direct action day is 1946. Announcement of the end of the British rule in India by Clement Attlee. So who was the prime minister at that time? Clement Attlee. When we got independence, it is Clement Attlee. So it is cabinet mission plan rejected the demand for independent Pakistan. Partition of British India into two independent nations, India and Pakistan, were done according to Mountbatten Plan, which is at the almost ending. Okay, Lord Mountbatten is the last, what you say, last Governor General of India. Okay, last Governor General of India, Lord Mountbatten, and Indian independent Mountbatten Plan is also in 1947. Okay, he came in the last, and because of his efforts, there was a separate India and Pakistan, and the independence was transferred smoothly. Okay, Mountbatten Plan partitioned British India into two independent nations, India and Pakistan. The federal features of the Indian government was introduced by the Government of India Act 1935. Okay, Government of India Act 1935 is also very important. It's a very big act, and most of the constitution has been borrowed from this. Establishment of All India Federation. Okay, abolished hierarchy in the provinces and introduced provincial autonomy. Okay, we have seen this already, right? Responsible government, introduced bicameralism in six. Already in bicameralism came in 1919. Don't get confused. First time bicameralism was introduced in 1919. It was extended to six out of 11 provinces, and it extended the principle of communal representation and all these things we've seen, right? Fine. So the federal features of Indian government was introduced by the Government of India Act of 1935. Which feature was borrowed by the Indian Constitution from the British Constitution? So we've already seen that multiple times. Okay, from the British Constitution, the sources of the Constitution. If you look at what did we take from the British? The British Constitution: parliamentary government, rule of law, legislative procedure, single citizenship, cabinet system, prerogative writs, parliamentary privileges, and bicameralism also. So what did we take? Lawmaking, okay, parliamentary system of government, rule of law, bicameralism, all those things. Writs, okay, prerogative writs, very important. Article 32. The Constitution supports rule of law, okay, and American Constitution has due process of law, and we have procedure established by law. We have taken it from Japan. Okay, that is also important. We have borrowed. See this procedure established by law is we have borrowed from Japanese Constitution, and in America they have due process of law. Here we follow a procedure established by law. In Britain, Parliament is supreme. According to which of the following is supreme in India? So in India, Constitution is supreme. Such statements try to remember. Okay, suddenly when asked a question, you might get confused. In Britain, Parliament is supreme. In India, Constitution is supreme. So the Government of India Act 1935 provided for establishment of Federal Court. 1937 we have seen diarchy at center. 1919 introduced diarchy in provinces, and 1935 abolished diarchy in provinces and established diarchy at center, and introduced provincial autonomy in its place. Okay, again the Act of 1935 abolished diarchy in the provinces. Okay, and it established diarchy at the center. Very important. See, frequently this is being asked. The Constituent of India was enacted by a Constituent Assembly, and I already told you, Cabinet Mission Plan. It came in the last 1946. And for the first time, they said that we will set up a Constituent Assembly so that you can write a constitution, adopt a constitution. So the Constituent Assembly of India was created as per the Cabinet Mission Plan. Okay, in which year did the Cripps Mission come? 1942. And because of the failure of the Cripps Mission, we had the Quit India Movement, 1942, and the slogan is "Do or Die." So the Constituent Assembly set up under Cabinet Mission Plan had a strength of 389. Remember this, okay? The strength of Constituent Assembly after the withdrawal of Muslim League was reduced to 299. So the Muslim League wanted a separate Pakistan, okay? So and they were not in favor of the Constituent Assembly, so they withdrew, and then it became first it was 389, next it became 299. How many committees were set up? Okay, there were 13 committees: Law Committee, Steering Committee, Union Powers Committee. All those things are very important. Law Committee, Drafting Committee, and it's Dr. P.R. Ambedkar. Okay. So, who of the following acted as a constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly? Sir B.N. Rao. Very important. He is the constitutional advisor, and the first idea of constitution was given by M.N. Roy. So, demand for a constitution framed by a constitutional assembly was made by Gandhi. Okay, yes, remember. There are several other things you have to remember. Okay, Nehru's objectives resolution and what you say, Motilal Nehru's Nehru report. We've seen all that, right? And the demand for Purna Swaraj 1929, and the idea of the Constituent Assembly to frame a constitution for India was first mooted by Swaraj Party in 1928. So 1928, Motilal Nehru was the president, and also let us see who was their Governor General. So in 1928, Lord Irwin was there. Okay, Lord Irwin was there, and the Lahore session of Congress 1929, presided by 1929 Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, remember 1929 Lahore session, President Jawaharlal Nehru passed the resolution on Purna Swaraj. And who was the Viceroy? Lord Irwin. Okay, try to link with this Gandhi Irwin Pact 1931. This is just before, right? So Irwin was there. Also, when Simon Commission came to India, Irwin was there. Nehru Report 1928. This is Motilal Nehru, okay, father of Jawaharlal Nehru. And in 1929, Lahore session headed by Jawaharlal Nehru gave the Purna Swaraj resolution. That means we want complete freedom. Okay, Swaraj Party 1928. Who started with presentation of the objectives resolution by Jawaharlal Nehru on 1947. Very important. Objective resolutions. Who presented? Jawaharlal Nehru. So when was the objective resolution moved and adopted? In between December 1946 to January 1947. Okay, 22/1/1947. Try to remember. The members of the Constituent Assembly were elected by provincial assemblies. Okay. See, the members of the Constituent Assembly were not directly elected from the people. They were elected by the provincial assemblies. The assemblies which were already there, they were elected. Okay. So let us, 50 questions have been completed. Let us continue the next session.